I know that a lot of people have already said it. I know that a lot of content creators have already said it, but I will say it. Honestly, Genshin sucks. And I can totally understand why people say that. Like, don't get me wrong, I do think that Genshin has its own merits, and there are things that other games just cannot replace from Genshin. You know, from the music to the landscape to the character designs. I do think that Genshin has done a very good job for a game that's developed in 2019, of course. Like back then in 2019, when we see this kind of quality for free, obviously it sounds very appealing, and I can understand why everyone started to play Genshin. Like the way how they animate the movements, the way how the skill works, everything is just really smooth, provided that you don't play on a potato device like me. Because yeah, now I've upgraded from playing on my potato computer to playing on my potato tablet, so you get to enjoy Albedo in 2K. Very good. So yeah, to be honest, now that I have Albedo, he's the sole reason, besides TCG, on why I'm playing this game. And to be fair, like when Genshin first started out, I should expect mistakes that happen. I will expect some form of backlash because obviously, you know, a game is just starting out. Everything and anything can go wrong. But Genshin is 4 years old right now. And at the state that we are in, we are honestly worse than some of its competitors. Like, don't get me wrong, without Genshin, Tower of Fantasy, Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail probably wouldn't exist, and I think that's said more than not said at all. But I just want to reiterate that point. Like, yeah, it's true, Genshin has paved a path for its competitors. But now that Genshin has competitors, it's really just falling back. You know, I haven't played Wuthering Waves much because I honestly don't feel much connections with the characters, but I'll be lying if I say that the recent 2.0 update isn't tempting me to download the game in my potato device containing Honkai Star Rail, as well as the Infinity Nikki that has yet to be downloaded. Like, the thing is, Genshin is so bad that even Infinity Nikki has offered a better experience, provided that you're not playing on a potato device. But seriously, like, the way how Infinity Nikki had just started out, and yet it's like you get to customize all the dresses, you know, you get to do some story quests that's not very long, the fact that you can skip dialogues, it just really makes Genshin lose out. And the thing is, I think a lot of creators have already mentioned before that Genshin loves to show and not tell. And I agree with that. Because the thing is, when I look at the character story, let's just look at my favorite character, hands down in Genshin, you can see that Albedo has a lot of lore. You can see that Kazuha has a lot of lore, just like me writing the lore of my OCs, very yum, very graceful, very mindful, very demure. But the thing is, yeah, you can tell me all you want about these OCs, alright? So all these characters that you see in Genshin Impact are essentially Genshin Impact OCs. So I'll just call them that way. Alright, suck it up. So anyway, the thing is, I want to see the story playing out and not just written in words like this. You know, I want to see Kazuha sailing the high seas with his hair down, you know, even partially naked if you will. Like, I just want to see it. I want to witness it for myself. I get it. People would say, but kid, this is a friendly game. Why would you expect naked people, half naked people to be inside? Like, the whole point is not about how they look. It's about the experience. Like, you know, I want to see Kazuha bathing under the trees. I want to see him. I want to run around as Kazuha. You know, I want to run around as Kazuha trying to avoid the enemies. Of course, the last time we did that for I suddenly forgot her name. The last time we did that for Diona's story quest, it was really painful. But the thing is, I want that kind of experience. And you know, Genshin's story quests are awful. Like, it's really awful. I cannot think until now a story quest that's actually good. And I played from my endless quest, if you will. From the endless quest, that I have, endless quest that I have, I've at least cleared Yae Miko's story quest. I've cleared Albedo's story quest. I've also cleared Kazuha's story quest. You get the idea. But the thing is, after playing the story quest, I don't see a reason to go back to Genshin. Like, the only reason why I want to go back to Genshin is just to run around as Albedo and feeling like the ultimate simp of him and just to zoom into his chest. I just go into Genshin again to simp. I don't go inside the game feeling purposeful. I know that that's the thing that happens with all games, right? Gaming burnout is not something that's uncommon. You play games for a period of time, everything becomes repetitive, it becomes very grindy. But the difference between like gacha games like Genshin and Bandori, for example, is that Bandori actually urges me to go in, to log in to see the latest cards. Even if I weren't to scout on their latest banners and stuff like that, playing Bandori is so relaxing. Because even if you have to play through the 100 beat maps and you have to play through the very difficulty, like you have to play through the very difficult songs that might cause your finger to break, but at the very least, Bandori is enjoyable. I go inside the game, all I need to do is just play songs and I get 100 gems. And if I don't have enough gems to scout, there's always the event with all the stories there. Again, this is not a Bushiroad sponsor or anything, but I just think that when it comes to gacha games, rhythm games are just so much more relaxing. Yeah, I get it. People might say that the difference between Genshin and Bandori is because Bandori is not a heavy duty kind of game where you have to constantly log in. But the thing is, they are both gacha games. Yeah, I get it. Genshin is RPG and Genshin is RPG, Bandori is a rhythm game with no RPG elements whatsoever. But why is it that when I play rhythm games, I get to just skip through all the stories and go into the combat, that kind of thing? Like, imagine the songs as combat. Okay, I just need to go in, play some songs, log out, and I'll be done for the day. That's the kind of experience that I want. And honestly, I still don't get why Genshin doesn't want to add a skip button, but I'll talk about that later. I want to focus on the poor storytelling. Like when in 2.3, 2.3 was the reason why I started to fall for Albedo. Before 2.3, I did not care about Albedo at all. I thought his Japanese voice, no offense to sub lovers, really no offense, but the Japanese sub of Albedo sounds really choppy and I didn't like it. But after listening to Koi Dao's voice acting, it really made me interested in his character. And back then when 2.3 was on live, I was just in love with everything. Like, the way how the story was told was really good, and unfortunately I missed the Fake Sky Scaramouche event. I really wish that I was there to witness it all, because I don't know what happened, but nowadays Genshin storytelling is more like, oh, let's go to Fontaine to film a shoot, oh, let's go to Inazuma for a musical battle between Paimon and Ito. Like, I do not mind these not so lore intensive events, but Genshin, you have given us those events for the past few years. You've given it to us in 2022. You've given it to us in the beginning of 2023 with Kazuha's story quest, like with Kazuha's lore, Xingyan's lore, Mona's lore, Fischl's lore, that one. Like, yeah, sure, the grind for the event was painful and I didn't have time to log in to play the event. But it doesn't change the fact that Genshin's story has honestly downgraded. Yeah, I know people who will say, but Kid, you haven't experienced through the Netland story quest, you haven't gone through the Fontaine story quest. Yeah, the thing is, I get it. Genshin's stories is interesting, but tell me that when I don't have to talk to 100 useless NPCs. Like, if I were to just go into one story quest right now, I can just show you how painfully lifeless the whole entire dialogue is, and we haven't even compared the way how they tell the story compared to, Wuthering Waves. When I watched the Wuthering Waves comparison, like their dialogues, oh my goodness, that actually gave me a reason to download Wuthering Waves and just shove Genshin aside, like the only reason why I'm not playing Wuthering Waves right now is because of my attachment with Genshin characters. Like it's just like what someone has said in other content videos, like content creators videos. If it's not for the story, Genshin Impact is not enjoyable, and I fully agree with that because look at this. Alright, I'm just gonna prove my point because we will show and not tell. So I'm showing you how the story is like right now. Again, I apologize for the bad quality, but the bad quality doesn't negate the fact that the storytelling is horrible. Alright, so now you go into this screen, you see that there are two options, but the thing is, it doesn't impact the story. Like even if I were to say I trust they are with my life or it's a pleasure to meet you, the outcome is ultimately the same. You know, you see the way how they talk, you know, you see how they move around, you know, like yeah, I'm not expecting Genshin to rig any, you know, mouth movements and stuff like that, but look at how lifeless and how stoic the whole expression is. Like I just see the character standing there and then them crossing their arms and then talking and then looking up and then their hair having slightly weird, and then just look at this NPC. Oh my goodness, like just look at this NPC, alright? The way how the eyes are drawn is just, I'm sorry, it's honestly pretty bad. And you see, like ignoring how the expressions of the NPC looks pretty terrible, the hand movements are so repetitive. Like it's always just them putting their hand like at the end of the chin and then they just release and then they do that on repeat. You know, like if you want, you tell me Genshin's story is good and then I have to sit through not 1 hour, not 2 hours, but probably 3 hours of this. Like, yeah, sure, in Honkai Star Rail, it's the same thing. You can't actually skip through the dialogue. But the difference is, you can actually skip through the story quest if you really want to move on. You know, and there are just other things about Honkai Star Rail that's done so much better. Like, for example, when I was doing the Ranmei quest, pardon me if I mispronounce the name. Like, when I was doing the Ranmei quest, I was actually really invested. Like, I already love Ranmei's design, but I had no idea who she was. I really had no idea who she was until I played the game. You know, like until I played the story quest, and it was so fun because the way how they do the flashbacks, the way how they have like those little creations of hers following you around, like moving, it's just so intuitive and enjoyable compared to like whatever was going on here. Like the thing is, I don't even care about what they're talking about because the way how it's told is just them looking at the person that is talking. Like, yeah, I get it. When we talk to other people, we also kind of just sit down there and talk to them. But the thing is, there will be some movements, like the way how they draw the expressions, the NPC's expressions are not even changing. The gestures are not even changing as well. Like, they could say something serious and then they are just putting their hand on the chin. Alright, I just want you to imagine, okay? Like, imagine reading a novel where half of the time, the story is just, hello, says Traveler. Hello, says back Paimon, as they put their hands on their chin and their waist, and that happens for like 3 chapters. Tell me how that is good storytelling compared to someone talking about, hey Traveler, Paimon said as she smiled at Traveler, who replied her back with a gentle wave in her hand, and they were approaching Mondstadt. The windmill was blowing with the wind, and the mushrooms were just in their comfort zone, blooming out. I'm sorry, I don't know how to phrase that, but you get my point. It's like as I was writing my own story named Blood Alchemy, I realized how important it is to have visual descriptors. And obviously in this case, we are already looking at something that's very visual. So what are some ways that we can heighten this thing up? I think first of all, we can change the gestures. Like even in this frame alone, you just see Paimon and Daya putting their hands on their like, yeah, just crossing their arms. And yeah, sure, you can say that they are saying something that might cause them to do that. But it can't be, you can't be someone who talks and all you do is just crossing your arms, if it makes sense. Like, I don't mind it if it happens on occasion, because we as humans, when we talk, that's what we do. But when we talk as humans, our expression change, our eyebrows move, like our hands will move as well, along with what we're talking about. In fact, my hand is actually moving a lot right now, but obviously you cannot see that because I have not put my face. But if you look at me talking, I have a lot of gestures. I'm moving my hand, I'm moving my body. Sometimes when I'm nervous, I might even be playing around with my hair. It's all these little details that give a lot of life to the characters. And I think that Genshin just really falls short of that. And let's just talk about the NPCs, like, they all look the same. They all look the same to me. Like, yeah, sure, you're telling me a story, there's this person, like this NPC behind and stuff like that, and they're talking. I honestly think that Genshin should really just add a skip button, because I really don't care about this kind of dialogues unless they really give me a reason to. That kind of thing. It's like, you see the NPCs just talking to each other, and then they're just doing the same gestures, and then they're like talking and yada yada yada. Yeah, and I can't fast forward this, and this is why I really hate playing story quest in Genshin. Alright, like, even if I were to play the Fontaine story quest right now, this is the kind of torture that I have to put myself through before I finally see whatever happens with Fossilors. And the thing is, yeah, people say that, oh, I shouldn't give you spoilers because you should play through yourself. When I have to sit through 5 hours of this, no thanks. Like, seriously, I would rather hear someone tell me the lore of Genshin than playing Genshin itself. This is how bad it is. Like, I would rather hear Min Slave. If you don't know who she is, she's someone who loves Dan Slave and covers amazing lore, so do check her out if you do. Like, I would rather listen to Min Slave talking about the lore of Genshin than playing Genshin itself to know what's going on. I would rather watch Anthony Chen talking about, like, whatever is going on with Genshin rather than playing it myself. This is how bad it is. I would rather hear Tactone venting about the story quest and all this kind of thing, whatever content creator you can think of, than playing through Genshin. That's how bad the storytelling is. Like, the only storytelling that I would willingly sit through again is the 2.3 Albedo event, because that storytelling was probably the best in my opinion, besides the whole star thing. Like, yeah, I get it, as someone who has drawn OCs myself, I genuinely feel like Genshin is just doing this thing where they purposely, intentionally detach the events from the nation itself, just so that we will not be overwhelmed with the dark lore. But you tell me Genshin's lore is dark, and then I have to sit through emotionless, repetitive movement? That's not how you tell a story that's emotional. That's not how you tell a story that makes me cry. That's not how you tell a story that makes me remember it. The thing is, there are a lot of stories where people will say it's very good, but then at the end of the day, I can't even remember what is going on. Yeah, I get it. People can say, like, it's a kid problem, you didn't invest yourself into it. But come on, I have watched cartoons from 10 years ago, and until now, I still remember what the story is about, because the storytelling is just that well done, and Genshin just hasn't reached that stage, and we just need to accept that. The thing is, if people are not gonna tell the truth about how they feel about Genshin, the developers are just gonna think that whatever they do is fine. Like, yeah, I get it. Feedback is not easy to take. Even I struggle with that. But can I deny the fact that feedback helps me to improve? No, I don't. That's why I've been trying to make my videos a lot more intuitive, where I talk while talking, like I show and not just tell. And these are the kind of improvements that will help people to enjoy the game. And the thing is, we are not asking Genshin to make a very big change such that it stops being Genshin. Like, all these characters with all their interesting lore just locked in words. I don't even play horror games. I am not a fan of horror. But when I watch those horror streams from like other creators, can I deny the fact that it's intuitive? No, I can't. Like the way how horror tells the story is not just locked inside of words. They show you, maybe it's because it's the first person perspective that helps you feel more immersed. But I always hear people talking about how Elden Ring, how The Witcher, all the storytelling is like really good in their game and stuff like that. And it makes me want to experience it because from the art style, from the way how the story is told, it's just so different. Albedo, he fought his brother. He had a cutscene dedicated to himself, but then now he's just someone that plays with cats. It's almost as if whatever happens in the event is just another timeline. And again, people might say that it's mentioned in the Netland quest, it was mentioned, whatever. I don't care about that if I have to sit through 4 hours of torture. Like if let's say the story was very interesting, I would sit through 4 hours of it because that's what I do when I watch drama. If a drama is really interesting, I would sit through it even if it's 4 hours. If the story is interesting, I would sit through it. But if the story is not interesting, I don't see the reason to sit through it. Which is why you see all these quests are still here. Like, I'm probably never going to start on doing all these story quests until Genshin starts putting a skip button. Because no, I don't care about the dialogue with the NPCs. I just want to help them find whatever they need and just help them to get I just want the Primo Gems to wish, alright? Like, this is a gacha game. I do stories, I do quests to get Primo Gems, but it shouldn't be so painful. Like if I were to lock into Bandori right now, I would be so addicted to the experience because I could just play Melissa, the Full Metal Alchemist opening, over and over and over again. And I could score event points just from doing that. Yeah, sure, the grind in Mobile Legends with all my lose streak is painful, but at the very least, Mobile Legends has hundreds of heroes with different interesting battle tactics, and even if let's say I don't feel like losing, I can always play with AI. Like, all these games give me reasons to go back. And now Mobile Legends is really upping their game. They now give epic skins. If you play their game almost every day, just doing a few battles, you get epic skin for free, and their epic skin effects are honestly really good, and I really regretted not going for Carmilla's epic skin because now it's locked behind a paywall, which really sucks. But it's really because of these things that make me go back. Like, even if it's not for the skins and all those kind of things, I would still go back to Mobile Legends. I would still go back to Bandori because I enjoy the gaming experience. Yeah, sure, it's frustrating losing a life every now and then, having to replay the songs and stuff like that and breaking your fingers. But at the very least, I know that I'm gaining something from it. But when I do daily commissions in Genshin, which I've honestly stopped doing it, I've actually stopped doing commissions because I find that it's rigid, I find that it's repetitive, I find that fighting Hilichos every day is boring, At the very least in Mobile Legends, I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep mentioning Mobile Legends again. Like, in Mobile Legends, you are forced to play against different heroes. And while playing against different players at different points in time might not be the most fairest matchmaking, the experience is still enjoyable because you actually improve your battling skills from there. You are forced to try new heroes so that you are able to match up with the different dynamics within your team. But in Genshin, I don't see a reason to do that, unless I'm really just resinless and just want to do something that that I do when I'm bored, And I have to talk about like Infinity Nikki as well. Honestly, after trying Infinity Nikki, I can understand why people say that it's really good. Again, a gaming experience could be affected by the devices that you are playing, but putting it aside, I would not bash anyone if they say that Infinity Nikki is better than Genshin, because it is. Honestly, I would honestly love for Genshin to be a little bit more creative with their gameplay and just give people a reason to go back. Maybe if the storytelling is poor, at least The world is fun, and that brings me to my next point. Genshin's interface is horrible. Like, I'm sorry. Like, before I played Honkai Star Rail, I was like, yeah, Genshin's interface is not really that big of a deal. But then, after playing Honkai Star Rail, I can understand why people say that Genshin's interface is horrible. Like, the thing is, in Honkai Star Rail, if let's say I have to do a commission, all I need to do is to just tap a button and they will bring me there. They'll ask me if I want to go to that location, I'll be brought there. But then in Genshin, in order for me to do commissions, I need to manually tap on the button, manually tap on the teleport waypoint, and just do this thing. And I have to do this until all my commissions is done. Yeah, I get it. People might say, but that's the whole point of having an open world game, for you to run around. Yeah, sure, I don't mind running around. But for things like commissions, just to get to the location, can I not just have it teleport me to the commission place? You know, it wouldn't hurt for it to happen. Like, yeah, the destinations are already far enough. It wouldn't hurt the developers for them to just put a teleport button right there. You know, it's just doing commissions. It's not like I want to just skip through the story quests or stuff like that. Like, I'm not going through the battle and I just autoplay. No, this is not autoplay. This is just me. This is just bringing me from one place to another. It doesn't change the element system. It doesn't change the way how the characters function and stuff like that. You know, it's really because of these kind of things. It just makes me so sick of playing this game. Honestly, like, the only reason why I'm still playing this game is because I like playing TCG, because TCG is really stress-free, and honestly, if they could give 20 Primo Gems for every single TCG that I win, I will do it for commissions every single week, because that's literally what I do in Genshin. So nowadays, every single week at the beginning of the week, I will go into Genshin, play my TCG, and then log out. Because again, I have no reason to put myself through the torture of playing a story that is not told in a way that makes it interesting. Like, if you want your story to be interesting, you need to tell it in a way that's interesting. You know, you can say that a content is very interesting, but if the storyteller doesn't make it interesting, then it's still boring. You know, it's like listening to a monotonous voice just speaking. Like, imagine if today I was like, hey guys, today I'm gonna talk about Genshin Impact and I'm gonna talk about how boring this whole game is. Like, you will be switching off before I even start with anything, you know. And that's why when we talk about, or like when we tell a story, we should try to make it as engaging as possible, and that's what Genshin is not doing. So we have the poor storytelling, and then the UI is just awful, you know. Really, like, yeah, I get it, they have these commission points, you know, like maybe now I could do a ley line, I could fight a boss, and then I'll get those points and stuff like that, but it's just so unenjoyable, you know. And I really don't blame on people who have stopped playing Genshin. Like, at this point in time, in 5.3, things should be getting better, you know. I should be able to choose enemies in the ley lines, you know. Maybe incorporate some of your events, you know. Like, just grinding through Genshin is a chore. You know, yeah, sure, playing game might be a chore to some people. It doesn't change the fact that we have to grind, but it's how painful the grind is. Like in Honkai Star Rail, okay, so I want you to imagine this is the Honkai Star Rail interface. Like in the Honkai Star Rail interface, once I've collected all these rewards, I'll be able to get all the 60 gems. I don't need to go to Catherine. Where's my Catherine? I don't need to go to my Catherine. Teleport to Mondstadt again in the loading screen. Yeah, and then go to the loading screen and then run towards Catherine. Yep, I'm just gonna do this to show how painful it really is. So I have to run to Catherine, bouncing, and then press it, and then I'll need to do this. Yep, I haven't done it yet, but you get my point, you know. Like in Honkai Star Rail, all these things are just locked behind a book and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, Genshin has definitely been more generous nowadays, offering Primogems for this. No, but the thing is, I just really don't want to go through the horrendous torture of listening to lifeless stories and all that just to get a few Primogems. I just wish that this game has more diversity. You know, like Honkai Star Rail has quite a lot of diversity, along with the fact that they already have the automated play. Yeah, I get it. The gameplay is different, and you know, I appreciate Genshin for making the trial for the Netland characters a lot different. But with the way how the NPCs and stuff look, it just feels like I'm back to 2.3, you know? Like, I played this game since 2.3, and I'll be real, I don't feel any substantial difference when I play this game. Like, yeah, sure, they did give a lot of Primogems, you know, but the thing is, the way how the story is told is still the same. You know, the only thing I would say that it's better is probably in Fontaine. You know, that's where everyone says that it's better. But just because Fontaine is better, it doesn't mean that, you know, the other places are going to be better. Like, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Snezhnaya. I know that that place is going to be good. But I really genuinely hope that by that time we are in Snezhnaya, Genshin will actually make some substantial differences that make players actually want to play this game. It should have a way to at least have the stories from the event to be archived. Like, I don't need to be able to play for the rewards, but you know, at least give me the archive of the events. Give me the voice lines of the events from Kazuha's Golden Archipelago, you know, just so that I can read through it at my free time when I'm interested in it, you know? Like, I want to do that, but Genshin's archive doesn't have that thing, you know, which is honestly horrible. I really wish that they would implement that one day. Hopefully, I'm hoping that they will do that so that I have a reason to play this game again. Again, Genshin is not a bad game, but with every single update, it feels like the game is getting worse. Like, the thing is, the developers will improve one thing and then deprove the other thing. Like, I was like listening to Tectone talking about how Genshin is only giving out the New Year rewards after the two latest characters are out, Silali and someone else. I'm sorry, I can't remember their names because I have no reason to care about them. You know, it's like, yeah, I have no reason to care about them, and it's like the developers only give us the gems after the polls are, you know, the banners are over and stuff like that. So it's this kind of little things that really turn people off or make people excited for the game. On the other hand, games like Wuthering Waves are really striving to improve, and day by day you just have a reason not to play Genshin. It's almost like Genshin is Genshin's own killer. You know, that kind of thing. Like, there's no real Genshin killer because the real company that can kill Genshin is MiHoYo themselves. You know, like, which I still find is horrible because, like, how can you have a game that's so good at the start with probably little mistakes and then just go downhill like that? Like, I'm gonna be for real. If I could just go back to 1.0 and play the Mondstadt quest and all again, I would. You know, because back then, Genshin was so much more memorable, you know, and it really made me regret not going for the Scaramouche Fixed Sky events, the Festering Desire events where we know more about Albedo. Like, I just really hope that they bring these character lore events back and then archive them just like how they do it in Honkai Star Rail. I just don't understand how Genshin is the same company as Honkai Star Rail that has their story archive, but then they can't do it for Genshin. Like, what's stopping them, honestly? What's stopping HoYoverse from improving their game to a level where people would stop complaining about all these minute details at the least? Yeah, sure, no matter how much the game improves, people would still complain about it. Yeah, that's true, I'm not gonna lie about that. But the thing is, if they actually listen to the players and make the changes, I'm sure all of us will be more than willing to play this game again. But this game is just not giving us a reason to play. And as the update goes and you listen to the updates, it's just really not worth playing this game anymore. If anything, Hoyo Fair is actually more interesting than Genshin itself. Not gonna lie. I mean, of course, I'm also biased. I do have some Hoyo Fair stuff that I really like, but that's for another day. So yeah, like really, if I had to choose between watching 1 hour of a live show from Genshin, like the game itself, or like the live show of Hoyo Fair, I would honestly rather watch Hoyo Fair, because Hoyo Fair is interesting. We have Progenitor, we have many other we have other content creators that just make Hoyo Fair such a pleasant experience, and I'm so grateful for these hardworking content creators for giving us the thing that $1 billion company cannot offer to give us, which is insane, honestly. Like, it's just horrible. At the end of the day, I really hope that Genshin improves the way they tell the story. I really hope that Genshin listens to their players and don't do the thing where they improve one thing and then they don't care about the other thing. Like, if you want to improve, just improve everything together. You know, just listen to your players. You know, I mean, sure, yeah, it's the fault of those players that accepted whatever Hoyoverse have been doing when they were doing it that led to these results. But even then, I'm not gonna stop sounding out. Because really, I'm honestly just playing this game because of Albedo. I don't even care about the banners anymore, you know. The only character I'm saving for is probably Emily. Yeah, and I would get Alekino just so that I can use her to meet Dance Slave, and I take 100,000 photos to prove that my ship is real. But yeah, it's this kind of silly things that keep me playing Genshin, or else I really have no reason to play Genshin. I would rather play Wuthering Waves, you know, because I'm sure that they have improved a lot at this point in time. Like, when they first started, it was still kind of like unappealing to me, but after seeing the 2.0, like some spoilers about what happened, or like the new characters, it really makes me want to go back to that game again to see how far they have come. I guess it's because Genshin is a 4-year-old game and maybe they are just sick of it. You know, it's just kind of like having old OC's problem. Like, imagine working on your old story when you have like other stories that are better. But I think that's why continuous improvement is really important. Like, yeah, maybe Genshin sucks because it's an old game right now. It's been 4 years while Wuthering Waves and stuff like that just released. But the thing is, TOF, while the interface is really clunky and stuff like that, they already have the battle modes that Genshin didn't implement until 2024, until Natlan came out. Yeah, I get it. You could say that it's because it's just a Natlan thing, you know. Like, maybe they just want to release new characters upon releasing the new nations. Like, they only want to release new game modes from the new regions. But at the same time, I feel like having the character, like, yeah, sure, I love the new game mechanics, but the fact that I have to wish for the character and they're not given for free makes me annoyed. Like, yeah, sure, Kachina is really good and she could climb walls, but now we have another problem. We have characters that can traverse through the skies, you know. So why isn't that just implemented? You know, like, maybe they could give, like, I don't know, a jetpack or something. Like, maybe not a jetpack, but maybe something that allows me to do that for all the characters. Like, why do I need to scout for a specific character just for the game mechanic? Like, I don't mind if I want to get a specific character just for the skills, because that's what I do in Mobile Legends. I buy new heroes just so I can try the skills. But things like game mechanics, it shouldn't be locked within a character, you know. And the thing is, because Mobile Legends, when they release all their characters, they're permanently in the hero shop. You could buy them anytime. You could play from season 30 to season 34. Maybe in season 30 you don't have Cecilia, but then because he's in the hero shop, you can always get him when he's at 34. You know, when you are at season 34, like after playing a couple of ranked matches and then now you have finally enough money to buy a new hero, you can just keep doing that. But then in Genshin, I need to sit through the painful commissions just to be able to do a wish. And I honestly find it to be ridiculous. Like, you should see the way how Infinity Nikki does everything. Like, honestly, I don't blame on people for preferring Infinity Nikki. It's so much better. And yeah, we shall just do a wish right now. We shall. No, we're not gonna do a wish because Severus is not inside. But yeah, as I was saying, I shouldn't need to wish for a character just for game mechanic. Like, I don't mind if I need to do some story quest in order to game something. And I think that honestly Genshin should learn from Tower of Fantasy. Again, that game is dead, but it doesn't change the fact that the game is pretty generous and it's enjoyable. If it's not for my devices and my lack of time, I would play Tower of Fantasy again. Because being able to double jump for every single character, whether they are gun, cannon, sword, bow, it's just so intuitive and so enjoyable. And again, yeah, you can skip through the dialogues in Tower of Fantasy, which makes people think that maybe the story is not as good and that's why people are skipping. But that's not true. It's okay to skip through the parts of the story that you're not interested in. Unless the story is made such in a way like, oh, actually the part was interesting, you just skipped it. But again, it really boils back down to storytelling. And I'm gonna say this over and over and over again. Genshin's storytelling is horrible. And because of that, every single thing from the UI, from the appearance of the characters, it just makes them look so lifeless. Like when I saw Wuthering Waves having their characters talking when they're doing idle lines, the way how their characters look so much more alive, yeah, it just gives me a reason not to play this game anymore. Because come on, Genshin, you're 4 years old. How can a game that is 1 year old do better than you? At 4 years old, I should be expecting you to strive for something like Elden Ring. I'm not expecting you to be Elden Ring. Like, I haven't even played through Elden Ring before. But I think I've seen some footages. I'm not sure whether it's from Elden Ring or from some other stories, but like even looking at horror games alone, yeah, sure, I could just use a horror game as the background and stuff like that when I hear streamers stream, but at the same time I'm still interested, I want to hear about what the streamers are talking about the story. But then in Genshin, it doesn't give me a reason to do that. Like when I was watching Anthony Chen playing through Incantation, I actually felt the tension of being the character. I felt the tension of the mother trying to save the daughter. I was actually scared when I saw the footage because I know that the experience is really immersive. The way how they put the villains coming in, the way how you grab all those notes, the way how they appear and then you read from there, is just so much better. And again, in Boundary, I'm just gonna keep comparing with Boundary Mobile Legends and Wuthering Waves. I didn't play Wuthering Waves, but yeah, I saw a lot of footages that make me want to go back. So the thing is, in Boundary, it's the same thing. Perhaps their story is interesting, but not everyone plays for that. But that doesn't mean that Genshin should just make us help a useless NPC in the story quest of our beloved characters. Like, seriously, you're telling me that Kazuha's story quest is not him going through the whole Raiden Shogun thing or maybe a day in his life or something like that? Like, why can't the story quests in Genshin be made to be like hangout quests? Or at the very least, them having dialogues with the characters that they know. It's like in Genshin, we always have to talk with these NPCs. We talk to someone we know. Then we talk to Paimon. Like, I just find this cycle to be very tedious and repetitive. And I just really wish that they would change it when we go to Snash Naya. Like, everyone is looking forward to Snash Naya. I will be real, because that's where all the Fatui is. That's our final nation before we go to Kanria. And again, I don't care what people say. Even if the story in Genshin is interesting, if the storytelling is poor, I'm not gonna sit through it. It's like if someone was to tell me to read a book and the story is interesting, but then I have to sit through 3 hours of torture just to get to the interesting part, I will not do it. I am genuinely not gonna do it, because why would I want to waste time doing that? And that's why nowadays I just play the TCG, because I feel like that's the most fast way to clear through Genshin. Like, yeah, I've done my dailies, I'm out. Like Genshin doesn't give me a reason to stay. Like at most I'll just play around with Albedo, going him in some sceneries and stuff like that. And the thing is, Genshin has a lot of interesting worlds. Like, yeah, sure, it will probably waste space for them to put in all the Golden Archipelago and all those kind of thing. But you have Enkanomiya. Like, why can't I craft my own story? Like Genshin, why can't I craft my own story? Why can't I just have the characters go into Enkanomiya and they start doing something funny? That kind of thing. I don't know how they're gonna implement it, but so many beautiful worlds, so much beautiful music, forgotten just like this because Genshin doesn't revisit it. I mean, I would love to be able to see, like maybe Albedo in Enkanomiya, that kind of thing. But we don't get those kind of content from the creators themselves, but instead from fans. I get it. Maybe Hoyoverse is just setting up a place for us to set up our own story so that one day they will steal our ideas or something. But the lifeless NPCs, the boring storytelling, the story quest that has nothing to do with their lore, these need to be changed. Like, if you were to play through 2.3, you would know the shit that all the characters have gone through. And if you don't remember, Venti almost died. And actually, I would like to expound more on storytelling since it actually does cut in a lot. So the thing is, another problem I have with Genshin for storytelling is that after the battle, the characters look exactly the same. Like there's no changes to the characters. The only time we remotely got something similar was when Xiao was in the chasm and you actually see scars on his face. That was the only time we ever saw a character that was injured and then they showed it and not tell it. Like, you're telling me that this is the person that just fought Raiden Shogun? And it really feels like, if not for the characters, they're like, oh my goodness, Kazuha, you fought the Raiden Shogun. You wouldn't even think that he has fought the Raiden Shogun. If it makes sense. It's like, you're telling me that the character who just fought the Raiden Shogun looks like this? Like, I would be expecting some form of battle scars. Like maybe he'll have some battle scars on his face, on his hands. Like, yeah, they did draw the scars of him from saving Tomo, his friend. But then beyond that, there's nothing else. There's nothing else that gives character to the character, as ironic as it is. Like, when I draw a story and let's say the character has gone through deep shit, I don't just keep them in their NPC state. I would draw them maybe looking more depressed. I'll draw them with like maybe eye bags, that kind of thing. It's all these little details that make the character look so much more alive. And if you don't believe me, just watch those videos that compare Wuthering Waves now with Genshin and you realize how bad the modeling in Genshin actually is. Like, when I'm just playing Genshin alone, I'll be like, yeah, actually all these models are pretty good for referencing, very detailed. But then you think about it, this is a character that has fought the Raiden Shogun, and let's not talk about how bad the whole Raiden Shogun versus Kokomi thing was. Let's not get there, alright? That cutscene was honestly horrible. I'm just gonna put it out straight. Like, Sumeru's cutscenes were still pretty good. Ningguang fighting O'Shil was pretty good, but then I have no idea what has happened. I just feel like everything has gone downhill. And again, yeah, people would say that it's because I didn't sit through the story quest. But again, like I said, I'm not gonna put myself into that 4 hour of torture only to sit through all those meaningless dialogues that I can't skip. So, yeah, I really just hope that Genshin will make these kind of changes. Like, you can't possibly be fighting the Raiden Shogun, not some random Inazuma samurai, and looking as if you've never gone to battle. Yeah, I get it, maybe it could make the character look different, to give them a different design. Well then, let me design the characters. Yeah, I get it, Genshin is not Infinity Nikki, but maybe give me something where maybe I need to do some quests and then I lock it and then I get to customize the characters. Like, why can't I do that? I'm sure all of us would want to be able to customize the characters. But I know in order to do that, you need to buy skins. And the skins sometimes might not even be that favorable. So, yeah, Genshin, Hoyoverse, please listen to your players. Please just make the necessary changes. I think I've said enough and this video is long enough. So I shall not continue anymore. If you made it this far, I just want to thank you and I'm sorry for rambling for so long. So peace out and let me know your thoughts as well. Toodles!